Radio Free Skaro!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 917. I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Morning, Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
Two things. Andrew-Mark Thompson is on the show today to talk about his new book, This is a Fake, which is coming out. It might be out now. It's coming out officially on the 1st, and it's having its official launch at Hooverville in about a month and a bit of time. So anyway, that's fun because he's a fun guy. And his books are a lot of fun. Warren is not reading our preview copy because it's not a physical book. Yeah, you're waiting.
Don't want to ruin it.
No.
Well, no, but I just this in particular, where it's a bunch of really funny and very detailed photoshoppings. Why ruin that with a PDF when you can see the real deal on paper? Exactly.
We addressed that in the interview about how it's only available. It's not available in ebook because it would ruin the experience. So only comes in paper. So. But that is to come. This is a slightly quieter week than last week, which was 2 weeks of news, including some stuff that was sort of like, new promo pics and everything else like that. We kind of had to reach far and wide for all the Doctor Who news that happened this week. But first, none of us, have seen Barbie, right? We haven't seen the Barbie movie.
Not yet. I'm hoping this weekend, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy to wait for streaming or something.
Yeah. Oh wow. You're gonna eat into the profits now because it's not gonna be a success if you don't go see it.
It's gonna fail utterly.
Yeah.
My heart is breaking.
I did see Oppenheimer though, and I pronounce it quite good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Oppenheimer at some point.
It is. That's your kind of movie.
Is it really? Why do you say that, Warren?
Well, it's nothing to do with superheroes. It's semi-complicated, which you seem to like, and it's got some really great performances in it.
Oh, wow. Did you see it in IMAX? Or
No, I did not. I just saw it in regular old movie theater vision.
Oh, okay. Because like
35 mil, presumably, or digital projection probably of 35 mil.
All right. Apparently Edmonton, so I was searching for tickets for opening weekend, and just for fun. I didn't have a chance to go. But I could only find regular, like none of your Ultra AVX or your other sort of fancy dancy.
That was available, but I was like, who cares?
Well, no, none of them were available for Oppenheimer. It's just like regular screening. It's like a dollar theater, and like even like it didn't show up. And maybe if it was sold out, they just didn't show it on the Cineplex app because apparently in Scotiabank, we still call it Silver City, in West Edmonton Mall, it's like one of like 4 70 millimeter IMAX projection screens in the country, and there weren't any screenings for Oppenheimer.
I guess
there.
If I had a chance to see it in 70 mil, I'd take it because there's very few things in 70 mil. IMAX, I could take or leave. I don't really care if I see something in IMAX. Yeah. Also, Ultra AVX doesn't mean anything. It's not actually a real standard of any sort. It's just probably a better theater than a regular theater, but it's still, you're going to a movie. Like, what's like? What difference does it make? You're going to see a thing with very good sound and a nice picture most of the time. Like, and at home, I'm going to have a good experience too. I think people get entirely too wound up with this stuff, and I love movies.
Yeah, you do. You know what? One thing in looking at these movie tickets just for fun, because I kind of like when I look at stuff online to watch on Netflix or Prime Video or something like that. So, that'd be nice to watch one day. Oh, that'd be nice. And sometimes I go through movie listings. Oh, that'd be nice to go to one day. I never do it. But the great thing is, Warren, and this will be very pleasing for you, is that I feel like in between 2020, when everyone last went to movies, and now 2023, I feel like 3D is gone. I feel like it's officially dead. I don't
other
see
than Avatar, yeah.
I don't see it anywhere. Like I said, oh wow, there's no 3D up-res things for Barbie or your Guardians things or your...
That is true. That's a good point.
It's gone.
I think I did see that for Guardians. Maybe there's just a lot of 3D equipped theaters here or something, but it's a lot easier to go just see a standard film. It used to be an actual struggle to the point where I bought glasses that turned it back into 2D because you couldn't go see a 2D movie, which was stupid. And in Avatar's defense, the new one, James Cameron's one of the few people who uses it properly. Like, he actually knows what he's doing, as opposed to just up-converting it afterwards, which never looks all that great.
No, it
So
doesn't.
just poking through the Cineplex website for whatever it's worth. Apparently there's two IMAX entries. There's IMAX and there's IMAX 70 millimeter.
Okay.
So the IMAX 70 millimeter is what is available here.
For Boppenheimer? I'm calling it
For
Boppenheimer.
Boppenheimer.
Yeah.
The only other entries are Chinook, Langley, Vaughan, and Mississauga. So BC and Ontario.
And Calgary. Isn't
Here.
Chinook Calgary?
Oh, sorry, Calgary.
Yeah.
Chinook, probably Calgary.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, Canadiana for you there, kids.
And yeah, no, there's like tickets and so on. It's 3 hours long, and there's like 4 screenings on this coming Saturday, for example.
I gotta tell you, those 3 hours whip by. Like, it's
Interesting.
It's pretty well told.
Wow.
One of my coworkers actually today was saying just for the film in general, that it's very, very, very Christopher Nolan.
Oh yeah,
Insofar as
definitely. It's quite Christopher Nolan.
There's stuff that you're gonna miss the first time through, and you might want to watch it again or a third time.
Yeah, I'll watch it at home a second time. But yeah, it's definitely, it is worth seeing on the big screen.
Mhm.
Like, even though a lot of it is people talking
It's
in
just
rooms,
guys in rooms, yeah.
there's a lot of really cool. That adds to the tension. The way it's like that Quentin Tarantino movie, the Hateful Eight, which is shot in 65 mil or 70 mil, and it's basically a stage play. But the fact that it's that big and that crisp, and you can focus on things done properly, you can actually, it really lends itself to that too.
I don't know what to think anymore, Warren. I got to tell you,
Well, I've just contradicted myself because I was saying it's no big deal, people, and then I just went on about these movies being good in 70 mil. So what the hell do I know?
You've confused me. I don't know when I'm going to be able to see it. I am looking forward to both, even though I did ask. I mean, people have offered the very vital information. This isn't a spoiler, I hope. But Ncuti Gatwa has like 5 lines. But he's in it a lot. He's like in the background a lot, but he doesn't speak very often. And honestly, when I heard that, my enthusiasm for Barbie went down.
See, I heard it was really funny and the script's great, so that's good enough for me.
Yeah, but Ncuti Gatwa, like he's the only, like, Ncuti Gatwa's going to be in that. Okay, now I'm interested in Barbie. Not just,
And for whatever it's worth, Stephen, apparently it's $22.50 Canadian cents.
Just how Christopher Nolan makes his money.
IMAX.
Yeah.
I went on a cheap day, so I saw it for $8.
They have a cheap day still, didn't they?
I went on Tuesday.
Back in the day for, it was either Dark Knight or it was the last Nolan Batman.
I don't know what
in IMAX.
Dark Knight
Batman
Rises.
Begins.
However many years ago that was still like
2012, I believe.
$20 or something for IMAX. So price hasn't changed much in 10 years or so.
I've realized that I've only seen 2 Christopher Nolan movies, and he seems like the type of director that I would enjoy watching films of. I've only seen
Which 2?
I've seen Inception,
And
which
the Batmans?
I don't know if I liked, and I saw because back when I worked at Super Channel, I watched Memento, and that's a
I like that as well.
Oh, yeah.
That was
I
pretty
love Memento.
That was a good movie.
No Batmans, no Tenets, no...
No, never saw any of the Batmans. I don't even know the name of the Batman movies. I know that one of them has Heath Ledger in it, and he was good in it, I guess, and he won an Oscar, and then he died. But
you're really tempting me to list them off, but I'm going to resist.
I don't know. It's Batman Begins, and then Batman Rises, and then Here Comes Batman. Right? Is that what it is?
I'd like to see Here Comes Batman. That sounds like a great movie, but that's not one of them.
I don't know what they are. No, one of them is Joker's a different movie.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. What?
So not counting Oppenheimer, because I just haven't seen it yet.
All right.
Following his very first movie is the only Christopher Nolan film I have not seen.
Oh.
I think I'm in the same boat. I've seen Insomnia.
So
and
Memento, Insomnia, Batman Begins, Prestige, Dark Knight,
Yep.
Inception, Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar, Dunkirk, Tenet, Oppenheimer.
I have not seen Prestige, so I haven't seen 2 of them.
No, I don't need to see that.
Okay.
I've heard it's very good, but I haven't seen it.
Is it The Prestige or Prestige?
The Prestige.
Is that the one with David Bowie as like Tesla? Is that the one?
Might be.
It's Christian Bale and Wolverine, Hugh Jackman.
Oh, I don't know what that is then.
Yep. Looking at the castles. Yep. David Bowie. Yep.
I might have seen that too, also for work. So I've been paid to see more Christopher Nolan movies than I have gone to see them on my own. Actually, I tell a lie. I was paid to watch Inception 2. I have never paid for a Christopher Nolan movie. I have been paid to watch them. So until Christopher Nolan, until you find a way to send me some dough via PayPal or Patreon or something like that. I'm not going to go see your movie because I'm used to getting paid to watch your movies.
This explains your utter disdain for every movie. This reminds me of a friend of mine who refuses to see Malcolm X because he says Spike Lee ripped me off with Mo Better Blues and Jungle Fever. Those films sucked. Therefore, he owes me money. Therefore, I'm not seeing Malcolm X. I'm like, so you're, first of all, I don't think you're right about, I didn't much like Mo Better Blues, but Jungle Fever is not a bad movie. But besides that, you're going to deprive yourself of one of the finest films ever made, Malcolm X, a phenomenal film, just out of some weird vendetta that Spike Lee has no clue about. Only you do.
Worst episode ever. Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Wow. Oh, boy, the banter, eh? The banter, kids. This is what you're here for, all this banter. Look at this. 11 minutes of this show. We have barely mentioned... I mentioned Ncuti Gatwa, and that ties it. That makes it Doctor Who relevant. And Christopher Nolan is from England, so he's probably watched Doctor Who at some point. There's your tie-in right there. So they unveiled the new sonic screwdriver last weekend for San Diego Comic-Con. You could buy it in person at the store, little booth that they had there at Comic-Con.
You could, past tense.
Yeah, it's gone now. I know they sold out of the things. I'm sure they'll be back. I wonder what Ncuti Gatwa's sonic screwdriver will be. If they'll keep that one or not, I'm not too sure. But anyway, there's a whole article on the official Doctor Who website. This is the kind of news week that it was. Is that there's a big article? But you know what? Honestly, I like these big, huge, deep dives into things that we nerds who have grown up on Doctor Who and know everything about it. Well, we think we know everything about it. We are white males after all. But I do kind of like these periodic little things to sort of say, here are sonic screwdrivers. Here's the history of it. Here's who's had one. Here's what they've looked like, everything like that. So I applaud that. Sometimes people will roll their eyes at such things, but I like it. I like these kind of things. Keeps new fans involved, which is always good.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I still find it amusing and interesting that the sonic screwdriver is as much of a fixture in New Who as it is, considering JNT back in the day is like, nah, magic wand.
Well, I mean, he had a point. Like, he was right. They were using it as a crutch at the time.
Had a point.
Yeah, I did. He was becoming a bit of a crutch, and kind of was good, but I don't know. Depends.
Well, no, but if you're doing 45-minute episodes, you kind of need a plot acceleration device, and that's what the Sonic is. So
that's true. I do. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Jonathan Morris tweeting out about how it could be someone else too. About how he loves that all the Doctor Who actors have to pretend that there's some sort of readout on this thing because they often use it as a scanner and then read it. But there's no screen anywhere. There's no screen on this thing. I think it started with Matt Smith. He just sort of flicked his wrist and then looked at it.
When they listen to it, that makes a little more sense because maybe they can hear Morse code or something. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's sonic, but in fact, there's nothing to look at there. But anyway, but hey, if you didn't get your official replica from Character Options, well, the next best option for you is this from Rubber Toe Replicas. They do good. They do proper, authentic prop replicas officially.
Well, they better.
Yeah, because for the BBC, they do very good work. It's very expensive though, kids. Available for pre-order now, with an estimated build period in autumn and winter of 2023. That's this year that we're in right now. You could get the official super massive replica of the sonic screwdriver for 1,200 UK British pounds.
That's like half a Vision Pro. It's like a one eye. It's like a Vision monocle.
That's true. Oh, that you would get, Warren. That you would totally get. What kind of bothers me about this is that at the very bottom of the page, links in the show notes, radiofreeskaro.com, it says this Sonic does not currently feature sound. Doesn't make a noise.
And with a name like Rubber Toe, if I drop that thing on the ground, and because it's $1,200, it better bounce back up. That's
bounce.
what I'm saying.
It should bounce. I'll pay an extra 20 quid if you make it make sound, because that's what the replicas do. That sound.
His business card looking insert thing says it's made by Nick Roboto.
That's right. He's the cat that runs Rubber Toe Replicas. He's the guy. Yeah, he's behind it.
Sweet.
Yeah. Didn't Kat interview him at Gallifrey 1 in years past?
That's a possibility. I don't recall.
No, because Kat doesn't like you watching her interviews because it makes her nervous.
No, I'd ask her, but she's in the other room and
that's fine.
Doing other stuff.
Send a message via the cats.
The cats. Just tell Mrs. Deegan to go.
The cats that are not in the room.
Go forth. Carry the messages. Your carrier pigeon cats.
Meow incoherently at your mom.
Yeah, I bet you this actual like a proper replica. Like if you look at the launch video for the sonic screwdriver, which is sexy as hell. It looks proper metal. Like it looks like it's metal. And I bet you the toy prop from Character Options, no offense, it's probably not metal.
I guarantee it isn't.
Costs $35.
Like metal as in the material rather than metal like throw up the horns.
With both, because if you look at
both,
when you press a little button, it actually does throw up the horns a little bit. Actually, metal, 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 made of metal, which is kind of cool actually. But yeah, pretty pricey. If you're into that sort of thing, Rubber Toe does good work, unless you want it to make sound, in which case you'll be disappointed. But
you can make your own sound. Pretend you're 6 years old again and just make your own sound.
Let me pretend. I'm surrounded by action dolls in this home. I don't have to pretend anything.
Exactly. We have no children. None of us have children. We don't have.
I'm not proud of that. I'm just telling you how it is.
Yeah, I know. When was this? Ncuti Gatwa was in Rolling Stone magazine in the UK last week, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks. I don't remember what it was, but it was great. He has appeared in many different wonderful costumes. He talked about Doctor Who and other things. Anyway, there's a video version of it as well now on the Rolling Stone YouTube page. So we've included that in the show notes if you want to watch Ncuti Gatwa in his bizarre collared sweater with no shirt on underneath. There's just a collar that he's wearing because he can do that. You can watch him. You can watch him play that because this is all we have to rely on when it comes to watching Ncuti Gatwa talk about Doctor Who, because we only have that one clip from the trailer. Will someone tell me what the hell is going on? And that's it. That's all we have about Ncuti Gatwa for now. So
he has a nice little thing of talking about David Tennant being like a role model. Not anything to do with Doctor Who specifically, just in general.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of sweet.
It is kind of nice because Ncuti Gatwa was 13 years old when David Tennant became Doctor Who.
That is insane.
13, yep. Children are running Doctor Who now. It's quite something.
Children, yes. RTD is a child. Yeah.
RTD is a child. Well, I mean, like Ncuti Gatwa is like, what, 31 in October? 30. Yeah. Is his birthday in October? I used to have all the Doctor's birthdays memorized, and I don't anymore. I don't think, anyway. I think there's 3 of them in the space of a week. Davison, Tennant, and Capaldi.
Yeah, October 15th, it'll be 31.
There we go, 31 years old. Oh, he'll be old. I remember when I turned 31, I thought I was
You're
old.
a bad old fan. You can't remember these things anymore.
That's true. That's very true. Hey, I know you're all keeping up on Doomsday, the ongoing multi-platform event that they're putting on here, basically to keep us entertained, possibly not at all.
Occupied.
I haven't
distracted.
I admit I haven't read a single thing when it comes to Doomsday.
I read the comic and it was okay.
Oh, you did? Okay. I've kind of lost track of what begins. I know they number them.
Yeah, I've given up on even trying to figure that out.
Yeah. Anyway, there'll be other like I think Big Finish is doing something at some point, and there'll be like another comic maybe and an audio book. Anyway, the next thing that's going to be happening will be hour 10 of Doomsday, which is going to be in the game Lost in Time from Eastside Games. That little the game that I admit I had forgotten I had on my phone because I'm playing the Hidden Mysteries one because it's it's casual enough that I can just sort of do it when I'm just kicking around. But if you play that game, there's a bit of a storyline to it, and there'll be a Doomsday thing there. TBC didn't say it, but there was official Doctor Who news page story about it, so it'll be there eventually, is what they're saying.
All right.
Okay, that makes sense.
Sure.
Okay.
Why not?
Tuesday. Perfect. Hey, do you want to talk about some missing episode stuff? There's no actual missing episodes, but there's colorized stuff, and there is AI being used for possible good. Yeah, I know. Coming up, this when is this happening? The Missing Believe Wipe event at the BFI. What is that? Usually December, I want to say it happens. I don't remember now. I thought it happened in December, but but I don't know when it's happening. I'm scrolling through the article and I can't find when it's happening on Blog True. Anyway, amongst a whole host of different stuff, like from, just rare and stuff like that, there's going to be some colorized clips of black and white Doctor Who for fun. It's all for fun, kids. It's not replacing the original or something like that. They don't mention what Doctor Who is going to be colorized, but having watched at Gallifrey 1, Kieran Hyman and Rich Tipple did recolored the entire episode of Doctor Who, part 2 of Dalek's Master Plan, and it was fascinating to watch.
They did an amazing job.
It was great. So if that's anything to go by, I'm really curious to see what they have in store at the BFI in whatever time and date that will be. Very exciting. So if you're in the area, you can go to that, and maybe you can find out what day and time it is, and then you can tell us, because we can't find it by just scrolling through this.
Something next month is what it says.
Next month, you say? Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, tickets are both available now, apparently. So that's the important thing. Maybe if I click the link, it will tell me, and it doesn't. So we'll have to.
There was something about Fraggle Rock in there, you were saying?
There is, because I think they recently discovered them or something like that. The UK inserts for Fraggle Rock have been missing, like stuff from like the mid to late 1980s, missing from the archives. Like that's shocking that's still
leading Muppetologists are shocked and disgusted.
I know. Yeah, I know. It's like, well, they had like the old guy and his little I don't remember Fraggle Rock very well. So there was a guy and he was working at a toy shop or
like
something.
a human, like an actual performer. Well, they're all performers, but a human person acting as a human person, not a puppet.
Exactly. And I think each territory, so to speak, had different inserts for those, and I think we probably just got the American one. I'm guessing here in Canada. I
always thought it was made in Canada,
or maybe it was made in Canada. I don't know what the fuck. Anyway,
it was a CBC production, so you'd think that it was made in Canada.
Oh, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, but the UK had a different cat in there. I don't remember who it was, but apparently all those inserts have gone missing. So
the first and only comment in the article just says the North American version of Fraggle Rock was filmed in Toronto and starred Canadian Gerald Parks as Doc.
There you go.
Inventor.
Doc. Gerald Parks. There we are. Oh, we've learned some things today and forgotten things. Gav Rymill, who was on this podcast not too long ago, he of Dalek 6388 / Terry Nation Army fame, has been doing some pretty neat stuff with CG and everything else and using AI. Basically, he took 6 different telesnaps and asked the AI computer robot to sort of like anticipate what motion would have happened. He posted a quick little thing there. It's a little uncanny valley, as he says, but I mean, as an early indicator, it's fascinating. It is
interesting. And I'm not a huge fan of AI, but I'll explain this. I mean, I use AI tools myself, and I'm sure you do too. And like Premiere, you can extend a musical clip by, remix it on the fly. When I do transcriptions or closed captions, they're a lot easier because of AI. So there are legit uses for this thing. What I'm not a fan of, and Gav has got nothing to do with this, is guys who just use AI to slap stuff together and go, Hollywood's dead, and then brag about themselves on Twitter.
Yeah.
He's doing the exact opposite of that. He's taking old Doctor Who stuff, and presumably that's most of what AI is sourcing from, or stuff that looks a lot like Doctor Who, just to sort of combobulate this into something. So I think he gets a pass on that. There are ethical things about AI that I'm not too thrilled with, but at least he's using it for good, not evil.
Yeah, he's recreating something that can't be seen right now, as opposed to
to just ripping stuff off, essentially. And then making it, and he actually, the most importantly, he qualifies it, says, this ain't all there yet, as opposed to people who are like, that's it, Hollywood's doomed.
Yeah.
By the way, buy my crypto coin, blah, blah, blah. So he's not doing any of that. So it is interesting to watch, because I'll take Uncanny Valley over telesnaps any day of the week, frankly.
Right. Yeah, it's intriguing. It's very intriguing. Anyway, links in the show notes, as I say, to watch that 10-second clip of 6 different telesnaps in motion, so to speak, looking slightly freaky, and yet it reminds me actually of like the 8mm home video clips that you see some people who have,
a little bit,
a little bit of that kind of quality there. But yeah, interesting. Hey, let's talk to you about some stuff that's coming down the pipe from Doctor Who Merchland. There's re-releases of a couple of vinyl releases that were originally just in boring old black vinyl. They're all going to be color vinyl. Sunmakers is coming out at an undetermined date. We found Amazon listings. Chris found them. He digs very nicely for these. There's a Sunmakers one coming where the vinyl disc is orange, and then they
missed out. That should be in mahogany.
Mahogany, that's true actually. With a raspberry leaf at the center or something like that. And,
exactly.
And the Visitation is green. It's green, right? I'm red-green colorblind.
Green is the color of monsters.
It is the color of monsters, so says Terrence Dick. So, and the color of pteroleptils. So there you go. So those are coming down the pipe if you want to collect vinyl albums, which is pretty neat. They all look really good, and they'll be coming at a certain point later on. Two things coming from Big Finish. Rose Tyler, The Dimension Can Trapped is coming September 2023. That is what, the third installment? I can't remember how many installments they've had of the Rose Tyler ones. With Billie Piper, of course, reprising her role from Doctor Who. So that's coming down the pipe with 3 different stories in that. And then, hot off the presses, Doctor Who, Once and Future, The Martian Invasion of Planetoid 50, with David Tennant's Doctor Who appearing in with the Paternoster Gang and Missy in the same thing.
I really hope that's set in the 1950s, because that's a great 1950s, 1960s title.
It really is, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, the cover would indicate that it isn't, given that it's a Paternoster Gang. But hey, everyone travels in time in Doctor Who. So anyway, that is coming also in September. Can I just interject, by the way? Yeah, we're recording this on a Thursday night, so if anything crazy in the way of news happens on Friday or Saturday, we won't be talking about it. But, gentlemen, you are speaking to me now in I am in a state of kind of bliss right now, because I am towards very near the end of the RTD era in my pilgrimage. I'm a little behind, so I'm playing a little bit of catch up. Last night I watched To the Waters of Mars. It is fabulous.
It is great.
It's so good. But yet I had watched it for some time, and there were whole characters in there that I had completely forgot about. But it's so good. Tonight and tomorrow, you know what's coming.
I'm so sorry.
Yep.
Even worse, because you got to see Waters of Mars first and went, oh, damn, that's good.
I know. I got to watch The End of Time. I got to watch them both. I was thinking of knocking them both out in one night, but that would be too much. That would be just way too much. So
I would turn the sound off and then put the captions on. That's what I would do.
What's an idea?
Or just not watch it. You don't have to watch them.
No, I got to watch them all.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
No. I remember I watched when there were up to 12 Christmas specials, or 13th was coming. I watched 12 Christmas specials in 12 days. I think it was 2019, 2020. I can't remember now. And I think I did. I don't know if I tweeted along with them, but I certainly did for The End of Time. It was not good. It was not good. Even with the passage of time, after 10 odd years, just like, this is terrible. So
no, there's like 2 or 3 good scenes in each of them, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. The Next Doctor didn't fare well either, to be honest. It was not good.
It's not as bad as End of Time. What do you think, Chris?
No, what do you think, Chris? Where are you on The Next Doctor? Do you got any opinions on that?
Or End of Time?
Yeah.
I didn't care for it, and then the Ood cast, when they started their first episode, was on The Next Doctor, and I'm like, man, they make it sound like a really good story.
Yeah.
And they made me want to watch it again. And I actually never did until I bought the Tennant Blu-ray.
Yeah.
A couple 3 years ago, whatever that was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that big a fan. I mean, there was some stuff in there that was kind of neat, like the first actual image of Paul McGann in the new series.
Yeah, sure. That was
rather than just the sketch in the Journal of Impossible
Things.
Was
the first time they did that, like the whole flashback video thing, I think.
Yeah, I think it was first proper.
And then they did it again in 11th Hour, not that much after. But
yeah.
Oh, what disappointed me is that, like, right from the get-go, David Morrissey's Doctor is presented as a charlatan, and like we never ever believe that he's the actual Doctor.
And it was weeks and weeks where they're hyping the fact that
I know.
Maybe he is.
Yeah, but like even by like the opening credits, no. And then like minute 21 of the whole thing, his identity is solved. And we already know who he is. And that's it. And we got 40 more minutes to go. And he's not even the Doctor.
Cyber Beast and a giant Cyberman for no reason that nobody wrote about at all in the next 20 years.
Yeah.
There's some nice stuff in there, like Davina McCall.
No, Davina. Oh, what's her name? I know who you're thinking of. Davina McCall, not Trinity and Susanna. What's her name? Davna. Can't remember her name. Her anyway.
Dervla Kerwin.
Dervla Kerwin. There we go.
That's her name. In the red dress in the middle of the snow at the grave sites and whatever. Like some really, really striking imagery in there.
There is, but you know what? Like
and, one of the best trivia questions out there. What does TARDIS stand for as far as the?
I don't remember what it was, but it was amusing.
I forgot what
tethered aerial something.
Yeah, it's fun. That bit's kind of fun. But, I was like basically rewriting it in my head as I was watching it because, What?
Sorry, I just had
That's right.
The Cyber Shades.
Yeah, those guys
they exist in that. They're not good.
No.
Cyber King also exists, and he's very stupid.
It's a bit silly.
Yeah, but I'll take the Cyber King over the Cyber Shades.
Yeah.
That's true. I'll take Kaiju over Cujo, I guess.
Sure.
I
was watching it. Like they put the two Doctors together way too quick for one, because they're basically going for the pre-credit sequence, so they could have both Doctors looking at each other, and then we go right to the titles, and it's called The Next Doctor. That was a mistake. I think they should have kept them apart for much longer. And there's a mystery where the Doctor sort of like shows up or something and has to find out, wait a second, this is like, somebody called the Doctor has been here, and he has to like search longer and harder for it. And there's a mystery to it all, but it's solved so quickly. It's Tennant. So he get miffed at this guy taking the credit. Exactly. Yeah. Or like what, because there is a little bit like, oh, you must just be a future me and stuff. What, you don't remember me or anything? And then they quickly get past that like they steamroll past everything. It's unfortunate.
Stuff like that was done much, much, much better in the Chibnall era with
honestly, it was
the Ruth Doctor.
Yeah, it was.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. It's funny too,
kept it vague.
Yeah, I know. I was watching Journey's End, the infamous Journey's End as well, obviously, like the night before, and I remember like some people saying, maybe us too, about how Flux kind of got bogged down enough that they basically had to have 3 different doctors, Jodie Whittaker, like 3 different versions of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor solve problems at the end of Flux just to wrap everything up. And then it's been done before because we pretty much have that in Journey's End with 2 different doctors and a Dr. Donna who's doing the same thing. It's kind of, Sometimes more isn't better. That's what I mean to say. As we'll find out when I watch The End of Time tonight.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Yep. Pour one out for you.
Part 1, part 2, part 1? Both?
Well, I don't want to do both, but I'm away on the weekend, so I won't be able to watch the 11th hour. So I'm kind of glad that I'll have like a bit of space, like a 1 day grace in between the End of Time and the 11th hour. So I have to think about it.
Here's one thing though. Yeah. You will get to harken back to happier days when President Obama was going to save the world's economic problems with one speech.
He reminded me of that. Oh no, I'm not looking forward to that bit, Warren.
Yeah, well, but then when Obama was defeated by the Master, that's still better than Donald Trump.
That's true. Remember when the Master, who's the greatest master of disguise ever, and he disguises himself with like blonde hair and he's wearing a hood and everything, so he can blend in with everyone, and then he's recognized by the first 2 houseless people in the dump that he meets, and then
remember when he can jump real high and he can shoot lightning?
Remember that? Do you remember when he did that?
Remember? You gotta say member. You can't say remember. It's remember.
Remember when he ate like a whole Christmas turkey in one sitting, and they decided to do really close-up shots of him eating that? Remember that weird millionaire who has a sexual fixation with his daughter, and then
that
both
was
just
creepy as hell.
Disappear in the second episode,
and had no purpose in the episode whatsoever other than to hire the aliens.
Remember that?
And the Time Lord showed up, and that was kind of the best part, frankly.
Remember when there's that woman?
Remember when they thought it was the Doctor's mother, and she was going to be the Doctor's mother?
And then they didn't say it was her mother, but they sort of said, "Oh, they're looking at it like maybe it's his mother," and then they never mentioned her again.
Enjoy RTT. I can't even say it right.
RTD2.
Enjoy RTD2, everyone.
I gotta tell you, some of the like Journey's End, which is just more spectacle than anything, and like people that just pulling out. Oh, by the way, I have this Wharf Star alloy or something like that, which could blow up an entire planet.
Yes.
I forgot to mention. I gotta tell you, watching the later specials again. That's what reminded me of like how we were in 2008 and 2009, and pretty glad.
Well, and End of Time does that too. I've got a white star that connects. I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, there's at least a little more explanation for it, but still kind of silly.
We were glad to see the back of him, and I was glad to see the RTD come back again. And I hope he's grown since those outlandish final days. Because
when you look at the stuff he's made since, I think we'll get some. It's Doctor Who. We'll put some outlandish stuff in there, and some people will like it. So whatever. It's
by the same token. How did we get onto this? By the same token,
we're talking about Doctor Who. It's better than Oppenheimer.
If you think of when Doctor Who came back and RTD, like all the accolades he got were for Second Coming and Bob and Rose and Casanova and whatever. And I mean, Second Coming was fantastic. It was
really good.
You know what we're doing here? We're being Doctor Who fans. We're pre-criticizing something.
I know. I mean,
we might be right to do so, but we're still being Doctor Who fans.
Yeah, I know. I'm assuming that everyone who's involved in these, and basically they're all back while you're running Doctor Who again. I think they've probably grown in the last 15 years to think, hey, let's just pick up where we were from the outlandish successes of Journey's End and the End of Time.
We're three schmucks in Canada. What the hell do we know? This is RTD. True. He's made many TV series. I think he's on the ball here. So take all what we're saying with a grain of salt here, audience.
That's true. I sure am. That's true. But looking back at those last specials, hasn't been it has been the nostalgia trip, because I remember basically my opinions and feelings haven't quite changed from when I watched
11th Hour is coming up right after that, and that is just a corker. So
I know I get to start watching
Olivia Colman in Doctor Who.
I know, first and only time. Then she goes off and wins an Oscar and appears in every single TV show ever made,
including Secret Invasion, which I still haven't gotten anywhere near caught up on.
I've only watched episode 1 and I enjoyed it enough, even though I had no memory of any of the Captain Marvel.
I've watched 1 and 2. I liked it, but I just haven't got the gumption to keep going.
Well,
I'm just avoiding it. So
well, I
have no interest in it.
How about that?
Fair enough.
You and apparently a whole bunch of other people. Anyway, Doctor Who coming to Disney Plus, if Disney Plus is still around in November. Last bit of news here before we jump to our Andrew-Mark Thompson interview. Remember how we talked about there's a compilation of some Tom Baker comics coming out in November to time with the Star Beast, of course, appearing on TV. Well, there's another comic collection for the pages of Doctor Who magazine, Cybermen. Yeah. The ultimate comic strip collection with a whole host of different Cybermen stories throughout the years. There are 2 different covers that we can determine. Amazon and Forbidden Planet has one, and the Doctor Who merch site has a different one. One of them has basically all the actual Cybermen standing looking at you blankly, and the other one has like those crazy, like
the 90s ones,
90s ones, yeah.
Which I've always been kind of fascinated by, because it was an interesting evolution of Cybermen. The TV show obviously went a different way. You couldn't make these for TV.
No.
But I always thought it was, they're like kind of untethered from the TV show. So they're like, okay, let's go to town. What would these things look like? And it's kind of an interesting take, I think.
It is kind of. Yeah, it is. Anyway, those are coming out September 1st is when that's coming out. So if you're a fan of those old comics, you can pick them up in a nice handy volume from Panini, I guess. That's what my guess is. It doesn't actually say a brand on there, but yes, it is Panini.
Well, it's Panini.
Yeah, it's Panini, which of course has the rights for it. So there you go. That's it. That's it for our long, rambly news and banter discussion, kids. Hope you enjoyed that. Up next, after the break, I sit down and chat with the writer of This Is a Fake. It's Mr. Andrew-Mark Thompson. Andrew-Mark Thompson has been one of the most entertaining Doctor Who-related follows on Twitter over the years with his Doctor Who spoof images and mock-ups, such as Barbara Wright as an Egyptian cat, to VHS covers from the 1980s that are so fake that they're almost real. Well, finally, and perhaps inevitably, a collection of Thompson's best work has found its way into a new book called This Is a Fake, a collection of unreal things, and Andrew-Mark Thompson joins me today. Hello, Andy.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going very well. We at Radio Free Skaro Towers here were very pleased to see that this has become a book. Warren ordered it immediately. We got a preview PDF copy for this interview, and Warren refused to look at it because he wants to savor the actual physical book when it arrives on his doorstep at some point. So we've been looking forward to this.
It looks better on paper. I said this to somebody who says, "Is it coming out on ebook?" I said it's not, for the simple reason it doesn't look very nice on PDF. You know, you can actually see the joins and stuff on some of the images, and I think it's designed to be on paper, as it were. Mm-hmm. You know, it's that verisimilitude of it. And if you look at the cover and the way that it's all laid out, it's a throwback to those Monty Python books and the Goodies books, where you have this sort of plethora of bits and pieces just chucked together, which is hopefully funny, you know.
I'm sure it is. So I mentioned that this whole thing of yours started on Twitter all those years ago. Like, how did the idea start about of you doing these spoof images and everything else on Twitter all those years ago?
I've only just realised this, but the first little spoof things I did were for the 50th anniversary, which is 10 years ago, obviously. Mm-hmm. And I did these. I did about 5 or 6 little items of vintage Doctor Who memorabilia that never existed. You'd want them to exist, and there was a thing like an 8mm reel of film from Fury from the Deep. You know, like you used to be able to buy 8mm films, Super 8, in a little box and stuff with a thing on it. And there was a 5th anniversary Radio Times special, William Hartnell's Book of Space,
right?
Stuff like that. You know, it's I did those, and then I started. You know, I was a bit cheeky with them, a bit funny with them, some of them, and then I did. Moving away from Doctor Who, I did an advert for a sapphire and steel ice lolly. It's done like one of those posters that you see on an ice cream van. I don't know if you have ice cream vans over there, but these sort of colourful posters for walls and lines made ice cream, and it was sapphire and steel ice lolly, blue raspberry water ice with a stainless steel stick. The idea was that the stainless steel stick was actually a knife, a repurposed kitchen knife. But that was sort of lost. And I had sort of sapphire and steel, a picture of those, then with a speech bubble coming out of Steele's mouth saying, I don't trust it. Right. And I posted that on a Saturday morning, and the damn thing went viral. I don't think I'd put enough really silly stuff on it to differentiate it from being real. Because there was people saying, "Oh yes, I remember Sapphire and Steel," and, you know, and it was on Facebook, and I'd forgot to say just to friends, as it were, and it was just all these comments from people I didn't know saying, "Oh, I remember Sapphire and Steel. Oh yes, Sapphire and Steel, they were great. They were blah blah blah. Oh, you've pinched some artwork from Looking," things like that,
right?
And there, in amongst, there was 2 or 3 of them that said, "Oh yes, I remember the sapphire and steel ice lolly." Right. And it became sort of like, I suppose the people who remembered it will think it's sort of a Mandela effect, right, and proof that we're living in a simulation. But it's actually just the fact that I'm taking, you know, I did a silly joke on it. And fast forward a little bit. The actual ad ended up appearing in several publications as being a genuine piece of 70s paraphernalia, and even ended up in Joanna Lumley's tour brochure when she did her audience with Joanna Lumley a few years back.
Goodness me.
That I got in touch with. Luckily, the brochure had the address of the designers of the brochure. So I emailed them and explained to them, and quick as a flash, the guy got back to me and said, Joanna, I'll check with Joanna. And I'm thinking, ooh. And then again, quick as a flash, she comes back. Apparently she thought it was, she was a bit suspicious of it, but she thought it was very funny.
Right. That's awesome.
Right. So I had the approval of Joanna Lumley. So, but that's how it all started. And I started doing things after that. I did a few more ice lollies. I started doing old Target book covers for stories that didn't have them. And it just sort of blossomed from there. Half of it is me doing Photoshops of things I wanted as a kid. A John Pertwee racetrack set or a Quatermass action figures, things like that. Right. And the other half is just my odd sense of humor. I like to take the mick out of stuff. I think with Doctor Who, I've gone beyond the appreciation of it. I've been in fandom since 1980. And I think I've gone beyond the appreciating it for the fact that I've become a cynical old sow, sort of taking the mick, understanding how everything works and just wanting to put some humor into it, as it were, not taking it seriously.
Well, I mean that this is where the I think I love about it, but the humor of it is that it is so close to the mark that it could be considered real. That's the funny bit. It's an outlandish spoof, but it sort of swings around to something. Oh, wait a minute, this could have been, because it's done. You capture the style so well of the time that you are mimicking. I think is what makes it so real, and that's what it makes it so believable too. The attention to detail is obviously something that is part of this for you.
Well, it's that old adage. Excuse me. It's funny because it's real. If the things didn't look real, they wouldn't be funny. So if you're doing an advert for a Barbara Wright Egyptian cat collectible figure, heaven forbid, it's got to look like one of those adverts that you see in glossy magazines, glossy ladies magazines.
Yeah,
we certainly get a lot of them over here in the Sunday newspaper magazines. These dreadful things for Star Trek plates and things like that. And I absolutely detest them, those adverts, those collectibles. They are just absolute junk. You see them in thrift shops, charity shops, these objects, these clocks, these snow globes, Disney snow globes and things. And I absolutely detest them. And my mother, bless her, she has the Sunday magazine, a Sunday paper with these magazines in, and each time there's a new collectible on one of the pages advertised, in 20 monthly installments of £75 each, blah, blah, that sort of thing. Every time I see, I get, my fingers itch, and I've got to do a kind of spoof of it. In the book, there is one with the Tom Baker, the dear ladies of the Tom Baker era handbags. Right, so you've got these collectible handbags with the faces of Amelia Rumford, Granny Tyler, and who's the other one?
I think Amelia Ducasse in there. Am I right with that?
Yeah. The handbags with that one. That is actually based on a genuine product. The handbags I've actually taken from an advert for Elvis Presley handbags.
Oh, wow.
A collection about showing the king in his three main personas, the original one, the Jailhouse Rock one, the one where he was a GI, and the Vegas one. Right, so you get these three handbags, and there's these ghastly, plasticky looking handbags, and they're God knows how much. I mean, Elvis Presley fans probably lick them up, but, so I did these bags with them. The three dear ladies of the Tom Baker era.
Well, how did this become a book then? Were you like trying to flog it to people, or were you approached to, because there are a lot of notable Doctor Who fans on the internet who are fans of your work?
I've resisted the temptation to do it. I've done postcards, I've done prints and things because people keep asking for little bits and pieces, and I've got a Redbubble shop where I put some of the stuff up there. But I always resisted doing it because I've told you all the reasons why we can do it, for satirical reasons, right? My attitude was there's a lot of copyrighted stuff in there. There's logos and things for a start.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, you shouldn't be using sort of certain logos, but I'm parodying them. They're my own versions of logos and stuff. I did change a few of the corporate logos in it, like Kellogg's and Lion's Made and things like that. I changed a few of those, but I'd always resisted and thought I wouldn't be able to do a book until there was a book that came out a couple of years ago, the Doctor Who Atlas. But it came out, and I saw it listed. I thought, well, this looks interesting. Lots of maps of Skaro, and we can find out where Unit HQ is, and maybe a plan of Unit HQ, and this, that, and the other. And then when it did come out, it wasn't so much an atlas as a children's picture book. It was nicely illustrated, but to call it an atlas, it was more of a gazetteer, as they say. But it just didn't work. So I in a fit of pique, I redid the dialography of Skaro, the map of Skaro that is in the first Dalek book. It actually is in This Is a Fake, and if you look carefully, I've actually used the same outline for it. And this is the infamous map that has one of the continents called Darren. Right,
I saw that. I did laugh.
It just begs to have the mick taken out of it, and I just did my own version of it, and said this is the sort of atlas we want. David J. Howe of Telos Books saw it and says, "Can you do a book of these?" And I thought he was taking the mick.
Right.
And I said, well, it'd be it's the same joke over and over again. So that's what it would be if I was to do a book of maps of all the planets. A map of Telos showing you where the tombs are, or a map of you'd essentially be doing the same jokes over and over again. So basically, we swapped a few emails and stuff, and we came up with just doing a book of stuff, similar, as I said, in vein to the old Monty Python type books. So just disparate. Nothing's in actually any order, although David very kindly put everything into chronological order. It starts with William Hartnell stuff at the beginning, goes through to some Ncuti Gatwa stuff at the end. It took me a long time to actually put all the stuff together. It's one thing being commissioned to do a book. It's another thing actually doing it. I had stuff that I'd already done, but a lot of it needed to be adapted. For instance, that map I was on about, the dialography of Skaro, I needed to put more detail in it because I just knocked it up in an afternoon. That been very silly with all the names and everything. The continent of Darren, Darius, Derek, Danone, or giving it all different names and things. But I wanted to put a bit more detail in it, and that takes a lot of time. You've got to come up with the ideas and the jokes. It's not just a case of, such and such is funny. You've got to put the detail into it, and that can take time. That's essentially it. I mean, that's how I reverse pitched it back to David as being like a Goodies Monty Python type Papa Bock type thing, and even the cover homages the one called the Goodies File. You've heard of the Goodies, haven't you?
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah. Have you heard of the Goodies books that they released?
I didn't know about those. No, I have to.
Yeah, you've heard of the Python ones, haven't you? The Monty Python Papa Bock, the Monty Python Red Book, and it's blue. Things like that.
Right.
It's the cover of This Is a Fake apes the first Goodies book, the Goodies File. In that it's supposed to look like an old cardboard file with a load of bits and pieces stuck in it.
Right.
Tied up with a piece of string.
Well, you mentioned some of the stuff that you had to sort of to redo or augment in the book. How much in the book is actually new material and isn't just sort of culled from your Twitter greatest hits, so to speak?
If I have to be honest, I'd say about 70%. There's also the case of reworking stuff. As you know, I love doing covers for annuals.
Yep.
It's a British tradition at Christmas that TV series and comics and films and things used to get these hardback annual books. I don't know where it all stemmed from. I've seen annuals going back to the 50s with things like Dick Barton's Special Agent and Dixon of Dock Green. God knows what the kids of them, if you were given a Dixon of Dock Green annual for Christmas. But this is it, and you're aware of the Doctor Who annuals. I did a load of those, and I've got a load of that. I wanted to put them in the book, so I had to work out a way of putting them in the book without having to. Otherwise, I've done so many of them. The entire book would have been annual covers, which would have been ridiculous. So I condensed them down onto making them look like an old mail order catalogue with all the annuals listed there with little listings for them and stuff. And it also gave me the chance to do a cover for the catalogue with a load of with a couple of kids playing with the game of Rassilon.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, as you see behind that, there's all these other toys and things which didn't properly get into the book, but they're there. They add to the verisimilitude. I love that word.
Yeah.
Of the picture. And as I say, it was finding ways of putting the stuff in, condensing it down just enough so as you can still see the image and read some of the text on it at least, but not wasting space.
Yeah.
I didn't want to waste space doing full pages of certain things. There is full pages. There's the covers of Jackie comic.
Yeah. Through
Jackie
the ages.
Jackie was a teenage comic over here in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And there's been quite a few Jackies in Doctor Who, not including Jacqueline Pierce, I might add. But those, they're just full pages, they are. Little bits of funny design. What
I like about your stuff is that it very successfully mimics the era that it's in, the 70s stuff, the 60s stuff. Do you have a favorite era of like design that sort of works best with your humor? Is like older stuff kind of more amusing because there were some ridiculous things like those classic handbags that you mentioned before? Like, is there you know what I mean?
It is, yeah. I know. I get what you're. It's the mistakes that were made back then. I mean, people were a lot sloppier with design and stuff. You take the Doctor Who annuals. I mean, it was obvious the writers never seen an episode of Doctor Who. Some of them never even seen an episode. I mean, the pictures of Tom Baker in a suit, and the fact that they couldn't use the likeness of Elizabeth Sladen, so they used the likeness of Caroline Munro for some pictures.
I didn't know that. Wow.
God knows why Elizabeth Sladen said no. Caroline Munro certainly would have said no. But it's those sort of mistakes, and it's echoing those mistakes. My favourite mistake ever is the old BBC videos.
Yep.
You remember the very first BBC video that came out? It was Tom Baker's Revenge of the Cybermen, and all the iconography on the cover was reflective of the 80s, the neon logo, the starburst colours and rainbows and things. Tom Baker was dressed in his purple jacket, if you look closely. And worst of all, the Cyberman on the front of it was an Earthshock Cyberman.
Yep.
There was a photo on the back of Tom Baker being menaced by a revenge Cyberman, which was the only thing on it which had anything to do with what was the actual content of the VHS. I mean, Trade Descriptions Act and all that. So, I mean, that was my favourite. It's just so horribly wrong, is it not? I did a load of similar ones for that. I did one for Androids of Tara in the same style, the stars and everything. And I put on the front, the main thing on the front cover is the Taran Wood Beast, right? One of perhaps the worst monsters in the history of the series. And going back to the Sapphire and Steel advert, this was actually, the cover was actually mistaken by a magazine for an actual cover. And it appeared in a piece they did on Doctor Who. I forget the name of the magazine. Geeky Monkey, I think it was called.
Right.
But they had a box out which dealt with the first Doctor Who, the first Doctor Who record release, the first Doctor Who video release, the first DVD. And the first VHS release apparently was the Androids of Tara. And they had a picture of my cover there, which, it had with the Taran Wood Beast and everything, and they had part of my the writing on the back. Now, I like to put little jokes and typos into my bits and pieces, and on the back, if you read the description of the Androids of Tara, I misspelt Count Grendel's title, which, if they'd have actually read the thing, they would have noticed it was a joke.
Right.
The other joke I did with all those VHS covers as well was to put the same picture of these two Cybermen on the back, and that they were on the back as well. Two Cybermen on the back of the androids of Tara. You know, it's just the design. It was just reflecting that awful period, and I ended up doing Peter Davison's first 2 seasons in that style, and even down to doing Snake Dance was reworked, so it was Doctor Who Snake Dance starring Martin Clunes with Peter Davis.
Right.
Because Martin Clunes being the big star that he is over here.
I mean, I let off with sort of asking you, like, which is your favorite era of stuff to spoof? I suppose the modern day with its, checks and balances and more in-house design and everything else. Everything's very, or at least much more accurate, and certainly intends to be more accurate in this day and age. Is it tougher to spoof stuff? Like, you have something towards the very end there with Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor, but you've sort of chosen kind of like a retro kind of theme to it. Is that on purpose?
Yeah, I mean the Ncuti Gatwa. Let me get it right. The strawberry flavored pink candy, I think I call it. It is a throwback to sort of 70s. I think there were some Doctor Who goodies, chocolate things, but I thought I had to do something like that, so I did it. And I reworked. That's it. It's the Doctor Who little bars that John Pertwee had with Doctor Who fights Master Plan Q on the back. There were some of these little chocolate bars you got. John Pertwee's face on the front, and he looked like Margaret Rutherford. The artwork did. And on the back, there was a paragraph from a story, and you collected 8 wrappers and you got the whole story. And it was called Doctor Who Fights Master Plan Q. I don't know what it was about, but it's just that title, Master Plan Q. It's a terrific title, very schlocky, very, very Japanese.
Right.
But I redid that, and I think I did mine as it's Doctor Who Fights Master Plan Jinx.
Yep.
And it just gave me an idea just to put something in there, because I felt I wanted something with Ncuti in there, as it were. And I also did those sex education novels. They're on the page next to it. They're sort of novels based on Grange Hill novels.
Right.
Again, I do apologise to anyone living in North America for some of the gags in there. They were very, very British and are about British things.
I mean, if you're a fan of Doctor Who in this part of the world, you're a fan of it because of its Britishness, and some of the stuff does leak through and everything, and some of the other stuff we just find it amusing, even if we don't get the references. So I don't think you need to worry about it.
The other thing I like doing, and I managed to put them into the book, was I as a kid at school, me and a mate did, when we were in the 5th and 6th form, we were allowed to do a satirical comic by our teachers. Very progressive this was, because this is the mid-70s this was. We had only just started doing cookery, the boys did. But we were allowed to do a satirical magazine. And one of the things I loved doing on that was writing silly TV listings. And there's a few pages of those in the book. I'm really pleased with the modern ones, the TV CAC cover with David Tennant on the front.
Yeah.
Even though he's not in anything that week. One of the things I did separate to all this was to create templates to do all the various versions of the Radio Times and TV Times pages and stuff. And I'm quite pleased with the way they came out. They took ages to do originally, but for the book, I just had to drop new jokes in.
Right. You mentioned, we talked about this very briefly before recording. This is something the book is called A Collection of Unreal Things. The unreal things in real life might be the pack of 36 cigarette cards that come with the pre-orders, but they're pretty much all sold out at time of recording. Is that right?
I believe they are. I mean, they are certainly on the verge of selling out, and I apologize to anyone who pre-orders one, having heard me talk effusively about these things. And if you do buy them, but pre-order one now and don't get the cards, I do apologize for that. The cards came about because I did a couple of pages for the book that were based around those old sort of sporting cigarette cards that you used to get, football players and cricketers and baseball players on. back in the 30s and 40s. And I did 2 pages of these based around the Dalek Master Plan delegates. For some reason, I think it was David suggested, why don't we do the whole set? And naturally I said yes, without realizing I've got to do this. I've got to do 36 of them now, not just the fronts, but the backs as well. Doing that put a few extra months on the actual how to work that out. Because I also had to do the album as well to put them in.
Right.
I broadened it out. It's all set in the Dalek Master Plan universe, as it were. And the set is called Enemies of the Solar System. There's creatures, and I mean, the meddling monks on one of them, and there's a creature on one called Sharan, the Grand Eye of Monoculus, who's basically a giant eye in a diving suit.
Right.
There's the alien Vord, a Marinian synchronized swimming team. Mavis 22F0, a Dravian warrior. I've got the one of the brains of Morphoton. You remember those in Keys of Marinus?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Name's Barabbas, the senior brain of Morphoton. Things like that. Old Mother as well, from the tribe of Gum. She's in there. She's she's been genetically recreated from a fossil. Anyway, that's all the gibberish on that. And luckily, a great. People won't be getting them now because we've sold them. Maybe you could invite me back and I could read the backs of all of them.
Give you dramatic readings.
An audio book of them.
Or maybe even a video so you could see them too.
I mean, whatever next. They'll be making an audio book of the making of Doctor Who next, won't they?
Right. They and indeed you have an ad for some BBC audiobooks from like the BBC cooking book and everything else that's in there too. So
I like the idea of the fact there's an audio book of the Japanese Doctor Who and the Daleks novelization, which has been translated back from Japanese into English.
Yeah.
Read by George Takei.
Oh, brilliant. I mean, well, the cards have sold out. The book is it's out now, even though
it's still available.
The book is still available. The cards are sold out.
There. We've still got shed loads to shift.
Yeah,
I can't see them going down in price in the next year or so.
Right,
they were expensive to produce, and people have to buy them, especially if they want to see another one.
Well, that's my next question. Do you think do you have ideas for a future? A second follow-up volume to this, but does it require sort of large sales for the first one to be able to even think about that?
Ask me if I want to do another one.
Do you want to do another one?
No.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I don't think there's enough material for another one. This is one of the things I don't like, doing the same jokes over and over again. I'd love to do something else, play around with it, and maybe produce a fake book, a fake Doctor Who annual or something like that. I mean, I had the idea of doing the 1963 Doctor Who annual, which was produced for Christmas 1963.
Right.
Before and everything in it was done before the series had been made. It came out November the 3rd, before the series aired, and consequently there's stuff in it that's all slightly wrong, or even more wrong than it would end up being in the actual annuals. The Doctor would have 2 assistants, Cliff and Biddy,
right?
Things like that. I'd love to do something like that.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of ideas, but the ideas that are in the current book are amusing enough in and of itself. The book is called "This Is a Fake: A Collection of Unreal Things." It's out now.
I know that.
It's out now. I'm telling the listeners, it's out now. Even though officially it's on published on August 1st from Tellus Publishing. It's a great book, Andrew-Mark Thompson, and I thank you for joining me today to talk about it.
That's all right. That's okay. Yeah, can I have my money now?
Thank you, Andy. Always a good to talk to. I've only ever talked to him twice. That was it. The second time. The first time was in person, Warren and Derby.
I was there with you.
Yep. Watching the late great Michael Pickwoad at a presentation and interview panel and stuff before we went to go have a Chinese at 11 o'clock at night.
What a time that was.
What a great time that was in 2015, yeah. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the show this week, kids. Next week, something else. Undetermined, but we have 2 things ready to go, and we'll determine which one we want. We'll flip the coin and determine what's going to be on next week's show. It could be a mini-scope, could be an interview, could be something. We'll have to find out in a week's time. I hope you'll be there with us to find out as we reveal the surprise live on air. We won't. We'll probably know by the time we hit record, but join us for that, won't you? So until next time, I'm Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
So long for now.
You've been listening to Radio Free Skaro. Find us online at radiofreeskaro.com. Follow us on Twitter and Tumblr at Radio Free Skaro. Subscribe to us on iTunes and donate to the show at patreon.com/Radio Free Skaro. Thank you.